Imagine waking up one morning to find a mysterious card slipped under your door. A phone number, 3 strange symbols, and a promise: win billions or die trying. You'd think it's a sick joke. But what if it wasn't? What if that card was your only chance to escape the crushing weight of debt, failure, and despair? This isn't fiction. It's the twisted reality behind one of the most shocking shows ever made. This is the insane true story behind Squid Game. It begins with a man sitting alone in a dark apartment in Seoul, staring at a stack of unpaid bills. His phone buzzes, and it's another rejection from a producer. His dream feels like it's dying. That man's name is Hwang Dong-hyuk, and he has no idea that one day he'll create one of the most shocking, record-breaking shows in history, Squid Game. But before the fame, before the billions of Netflix views, before the green tracksuits and deadly games, there was a story of pain, debt, and survival that mirrored the very show he would later write. In 2008, Hwang was completely broke. The financial crisis hit South Korea hard, and like millions, he struggled to make ends meet. He was living with his mother, couldn't afford rent, and even had to sell his laptop for $675 just to survive. It's poetic that the same laptop he sold would have been the one he used to write Squid Game. He was a storyteller, a filmmaker who had directed a few small movies, but none that earned him real success. He dreamed of telling the truth about how people change when money becomes a matter of life and death. Around this time, Hwang read about people entering dangerous underground gambling rings just to win enough money to pay their debts. Some of them never came back. That darkness fascinated him. He started wondering, what would people do if they were given a second chance at life, but only if they were willing to risk everything? He took that idea and began writing. The year was 2009, and he called his project Round 6. The story followed hundreds of desperate people drowning in debt, invited to play deadly versions of children's games for an unimaginable prize. Sound familiar? But here's the twist, no one wanted it. For 10 years, Hwang was rejected by every studio he pitched to. They told him it was too violent, too strange, too unrealistic. Nobody believed audiences would watch a show about people killing each other in playground games. One executive even laughed and said, "Who would ever relate to this?" But Hwang knew the truth. Millions of people were already living this story every day. Not in some dystopian world, but in real life. They were trapped in debt, in competition, in a system where money decided who lived comfortably and who didn't. And that's when the real-life connection gets haunting. Because Squid Game wasn't just fiction, it was South Korea itself. At the time, South Korea had one of the highest household debt rates in the world. Suicide due to financial stress was tragically common. People would work endless hours, trapped in a system that rewarded only the strongest. In Hwang's eyes, that was the Squid Game. The world was already playing, we just didn't realize it. After years of rejection, Hwang gave up on the idea. He shelved the script, focused on other projects, and tried to move on. But then came Netflix, around 2018. Netflix was expanding into South Korea and searching for unique local stories that could have a global appeal. A producer came across Hwang's old script and saw something powerful. The world had changed. Inequality was now a global conversation. The timing was perfect. Netflix greenlit the project, but production was brutal. The set designs were massive, surreal, and unsettling. Giant pastel staircases, creepy robotic dolls, playgrounds of death. Hwang wanted everything to look childlike but feel horrifying. He said, "The contrast between innocence and violence would reflect our society, where even play becomes survival." He wrote, directed, and even edited the show himself, often sleeping only a few hours a night. The stress was so intense that he lost 6 teeth during production. The cast was equally determined. Lee Young-jae, who played the desperate main character Ji-hun, was already a famous actor, but this role broke him emotionally. He studied people crushed by poverty to make his performance painfully real. And it worked. Ji-hun wasn't a hero. He was a mirror of us all, flawed, desperate, still hoping for a better life. When Squid Game finally dropped on Netflix in September 2021, no one expected what was coming. Within days, it exploded worldwide. The show became the #1 program in 94 countries. In just 1 month, 142 million households had watched it, making it Netflix's most viewed show ever at that time. But why did it hit so hard? Because beneath the blood and drama, Squid Game was brutally honest. It exposed the illusion of fairness in society. Everyone says, work hard and you'll succeed. But the show asked, what if the system is already rigged? What if people are forced to fight each other for crumbs, while the rich watch and laugh? The VIPs in the show, the masked elites betting on human lives, weren't just characters. They were a symbol. Hwang said he modeled them after real billionaires who treat global suffering like entertainment. And the pink-suited guards? They were inspired by anonymous workers in modern society, people who follow orders, never question the system, and blend into the machine. Even the games themselves had meaning. Red light, green light, a test of obedience. Tug of war, teamwork versus strength. Marbles, betrayal and sacrifice. Glass bridge, pure luck. Each game was a metaphor for life itself. But the scariest part? None of it was exaggerated. Around the world, fans started realizing how close Squid Game was to reality. People were lining up in debt traps, working jobs they hated, trying to survive in a capitalist system where a few people held all the power. The show didn't predict the future, it simply revealed the present. And the irony? The show's creator, who once sold his laptop for money, was now a millionaire. Yet even then, he said, nothing has changed. I'm still living in Korea, still writing in my small room. But Squid Game's story didn't end there. It became a global phenomenon, from Halloween costumes to memes, to real-life recreations of the games, thankfully without the death part. Even the South Korean phone number shown on the invitation card caused chaos. It belonged to a real man who suddenly got thousands of calls from fans begging to play. Then came something darker. A real-life Squid Game was hosted by a YouTuber, MrBeast, with 456 contestants and a $456,000 prize. It was harmless fun, but the symbolism was chilling. People were now competing for money inside the very show that criticized such competition. The line between fiction and reality had vanished. And yet, the creator never intended it to be entertainment alone. Hwang said in an interview, I wanted to make people ask themselves, who created the world we live in? And why does it feel like a game we can't win? Behind the scenes, he revealed that many scenes were inspired by his own experiences. The character of Ji-hun was based on his personal struggles, unemployed, in debt, but still believing in humanity. The old man, Il-nam, symbolized society's manipulation of morality. He's the one who creates the game and yet pretends to be a victim. Just like real elites who shape systems and then act innocent. Even the final scene, when Ji-hun turns back instead of boarding his plane, wasn't about revenge. It was a question. If you've seen the truth, can you still live like everyone else? The deeper message of Squid Game was that the game never ends. It just changes form. Every day, people play invisible versions of it, in offices, in markets, in schools, competing for money, status, survival. And Hwang knew that better than anyone. After the show's success, Netflix begged him to write a sequel. He hesitated. "It's too much pressure," he said. "The world expects another miracle." But eventually, he agreed because he had more to say. Squid Game Season 2 was announced, promising to dig deeper into the mysterious organization behind the games and the people who run it. Asterisk the craziest part? Everything that once seemed like fantasy, rich elites betting on human lives, survival games for the poor, a system that treats people as disposable, is slowly becoming real. Asterisk in some countries. Reality shows now mimic Squid Game's format. Contestants compete for huge prizes under extreme psychological stress. It's entertainment, but it's also a mirror. We laugh, we cheer, we judge, and just like the VIPs, we're watching suffering as a spectacle. Asterisk, that's the genius and the horror of Hwang Dong-hyuk's creation. Asterisk, he didn't invent Squid Game, he revealed it. It was already happening around us. He just gave it a face. A green tracksuit, a red guard, a circle, triangle, and square. Asterisk, and maybe that's why it feels so terrifying. Because deep down, we all recognize the truth. We've all been Gi Hun at some point, tired, broke, desperate for a second chance. Asterisk, maybe that's why, when the gunshot echoes and another player falls, we can't look away. Because in some way, we're still playing the same game. Asterisk, the difference is, most of us don't realize it yet. Asterisk, and as Hwang once said with a sad smile, Squid Game is not a story about killing others for money. It's a story about people trying to keep their humanity alive when everything around them tells them not to. Asterisk, that's what makes Squid Game more than a show. It's a reflection, a mirror held up to the modern world. Asterisk, a world where every choice feels like a gamble. Where every death feels like a death sentence. Where, to survive, you might just have to play the game. Asterisk, but the question that still haunts us all is, how far would you go to win?